All right, let's get right into it. We're going to travel back in time to ancient Baghdad to explore the story of Qasim. Now, he was a simple shepherd, but trust me, his life was anything but ordinary. This is a story all about faith, about hardship, and really a deep lesson on what true wealth actually is. And the whole story really hinges on this one powerful idea. It's not just a nice saying, it's more like a compass. And it's this compass that's going to guide our guy through some unbelievable hardships, where he's literally forced to choose between his family's survival and a sacred promise he made to his father.
Okay, so let's meet our main character, Qassam. He's a really kind-hearted guy, but he's also incredibly poor. I mean, picture this. He's living this super simple life in a small hut with his wife, Fatima, their little boy, and his father, who sadly is very ill and doesn't have much time left. Now, to really get what's going on here, we have to understand this core concept, tzedakah. You see, for Qasim's father, this wasn't just about giving away money. No. He saw it as, well, like a spiritual shield. An act so fundamental that it didn't just invite blessings, it actively pushed away disaster. So, as his father is on his deathbed, he doesn't pass down any land or gold or, any material wealth. Instead, he leaves Qasim something he believed was way, way more valuable. It's a single piece of advice, a final key, really, to living a truly blessed life.
And these were the words, right here. They would just echo in Qasim's mind for the rest of his life. And right there, at his father's grave, he makes this incredibly serious promise to live by that advice, no matter what.
And with that, we move into the next part of his story, the test of his faith. Qasim doesn't waste any time. He immediately starts this daily routine, work his tail off, sell the firewood he gathers, and always, no matter what, set aside a little something for charity before he even thinks about going home. But as you can imagine, this commitment, especially when he had so little himself, was about to be tested in the absolute harshest way. Right away, his wife, Fatima, she's watching all this with a lot of concern. And she asks a totally fair question, right? We're so poor, Qasim. How can we possibly give something away every single day? So right there, you see this clash between his powerful belief and the cold, hard reality of their situation. And then the test really begins. One evening, he comes home, and Fatima meets him at the door, her face just filled with worry. One of their sheep is missing. Now, for them, a single sheep isn't just an animal, it's a huge part of their livelihood. This is a massive blow. But it gets worse. The very next day, it happens again. Another sheep is gone. Okay, so this isn't just some random bad luck. Qasim gets this sinking feeling in his stomach as he realizes someone is systematically stealing from him, literally taking apart his family's only source of income, one sheep at a time. And this is the breaking point. His wife comes to him, her voice just filled with heartbreak, and says this. Imagine hearing that. Their own son asked for milk, and there wasn't a single drop. That promise Qasim made, it now feels like it's costing them absolutely everything. But here's the most incredible part. At his absolute lowest point, what does he do? He prays. But listen to what he prays for. He doesn't ask for a sheep back or for money. He prays, "O Lord, grant me from your grace so I can give even more than before." It's just this unbelievable moment of pure, selfless faith. So let's see what happens after that prayer. The reward of his patience. With this renewed sense of determination, Qasim completely changes up his strategy. He decides to leave the few sheep he has left safe at home, and instead, he's going to work twice as hard in the forest. I mean, we're talking exhausting, back-breaking labor, but his resolve, it's stronger than ever. Then, one evening, when he's completely worn out, deep in the forest, something catches his eye. It's just a little detail, something you could easily walk right past. But the ground under this old, gnarled tree, it looks like it's been disturbed. And well, his curiosity is piqued. He starts digging with his axe, probably expecting to hit a rock or just find nothing at all. But then, thunk, he hits wood. He unearths this old box, and inside, well, the reality is just staggering. It's filled with bags of gold dinars, an absolute life-changing treasure. So you have to wonder, right? Was this just dumb luck, or was it a direct answer to that selfless prayer? But believe it or not, the story doesn't end there. The very next morning, as he and Fatima are just trying to wrap their heads around this insane discovery, they hear a noise outside. And what do they find? It's his sheep.
The entire stolen flock has somehow, miraculously returned home. And then comes the final twist in the whole saga. The thief gets caught. And get this, it wasn't some desperate, poor person. It was a wealthy, greedy man from the village. The judge's verdict really just says it all, doesn't it? He tells everyone, God tested you and you were patient. You gave, and so God gave you more. It became a lesson for the whole town. And so this begins his legacy of giving. Because for Qasim, the gold itself was never the real prize. The real reward was the confirmation, the proof that his father's advice was true. This newfound wealth didn't change who he was one bit. It just gave him the means to amplify his generosity. And you can see how he built this incredible legacy, step by step. He went from being a shepherd of sheep to being a shepherd of hearts. First, he was helping the poor and needy directly. Then he built a well for the entire village. Then he went even bigger, establishing something called the House of Mercy. And finally, the most important step of all, he passed that same wisdom on to his own son. And his reputation just grew and grew. I mean, it created these ripples that spread way beyond his little village. Word of his generosity and wisdom traveled all the way to the capital, Baghdad, until the caliph himself, the ruler of the entire land, invited him to come and oversee a huge charitable foundation. So before he left for Baghdad, he sat his son down. And in this perfect full circle moment, he passed on the only inheritance that truly mattered. He told him, I want to leave you an inheritance of hearts, not of gold. It's the same core idea his own father had given him. The cycle was now complete. You know, Qasim's story, his journey from a shepherd struggling to survive to this beacon of charity, it really makes you think, doesn't it? It leaves us with this big question. What is the true treasure that we leave behind?